It's wet. It's wet. It's very wet.
Wet in what way?
It's like a dark world of water. So I got off the cloud and I slid into this water.
How deep is the water?
It seems to be deep, but it seems to be the whole world is water. It's darker too. It's not daylight, it's purplish.
How do you know? How do you know the whole world is like that?
It seems that way.
Is it a feeling, or is it something you quickly saw when you were coming down?
It's a feeling.
Yeah. So how are you sitting, or how are you positioned in the water?
I seem to be capable of swimming in the water.
When you think about your body or who you are, what do you see? What do you observe when you look down at yourself?
I have tentacles. Jeez. So I have tentacles, and there's this faint purple glow in the water. It seems darker below me, and the tentacles look purplish, grayish purplish.
What color is the sky?
It's dark. The closer I get to the surface of the water, the darker it is. It's like dark, no light, dark.
Do you know if the light ever appears there, or if it's always dark above the surface?
It's always dark.
Do you notice any objects, planetary or anything else in the sky when you're on the surface?
So there are stars, lights, but it's like it's always nighttime.
How many tentacles do you have?
8.
And how does it feel to be there in the water?
It's home. The water is not cold, but it's dark, as in there's this purplish cast to it. There's a luminous glow every once in a while. The water's warm or comfortable. For me, I don't know the temperature. I'm not seeing any other creatures right now. So,
are you able to see what color your eyes are?
They're black.
Are you carrying anything in your tentacles?
No, I'm swimming.
So you got a sense of movement?
Oh, I'm not swimming. I'm anchored. Okay, I didn't see that. I'm in the water, but I'm anchored with a couple of tentacles, and the rest are kind of floating, like I'm trying to catch something, but I don't see anything to catch, so I don't know what I'm doing. What
are you anchored to?
It's like a rock surface. I'm just holding on to the side. It's a sort of a wall that slides into the water, under the water. It's like something that's submerged, a wall under the water.
Yeah. In what way are you holding on? Can you describe more detail on holding on?
It's like my tentacles have grabbed a crevice or a corner piece of the rocket or holding onto that.
So do you have leverage, or is it more like a sucking sort of thing?
This feels both.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gripping it, but I'm also, with the tips, I'm kind of wrapped around it a little bit. There is some movement in the water, so I seem to be utilizing that gentle current to keep me from just mashing up against the rock wall.
Do you get a feeling or sense of how large you are? Have you got something to compare it to?
I don't know.
Makes sense, because you're there by yourself and there's not much around. What about your intelligence? Do you feel there's a high level or a low level of intelligence there, or you're not sure?
I feel very intelligent. I feel like I feel like I have lots of comprehension.
So just for a moment, try and tap into what you're thinking about as you're, in that position, in that situation. Like you're trying to catch something as you hold on. And even if nothing's coming, just think back of what you might have been thinking about before. And see what comes.
I'm very content. I'm not searching for anything. I'm sort of just hanging out. I'm content.
Do you notice a hunger level or a hunger need?
Not at this moment. I'm
Do you?
just content. Interesting.
Yeah. Do you know if you ever sleep?
When I sleep, I pull my tentacles in and sort of form a ball. I think one or two stay attached to something. But
When you
then
do
it looks
that,
like I could float also if I want to.
yeah. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to be attached when you sleep, or to float?
I prefer to float.
Is there any location that you prefer to sleep?
It seems when I sleep, I hover below the surface of the water. I guess I'm buoyant. And I just float there if I choose to. I only see this one rock wall. I don't see more. It's more like there's deeper, but I don't see into it.
Do you know if you spend a lot of time where you are, or do you go places?
I seem to just stay there. I'm content and I stay there. It is content.
Just for a moment, see if you can remember the last time you did sleep, and just see if you dreamed, and see if you can remember any dreams if you did.
I don't remember. I remember
okay.
floating. I don't remember dreaming.
Okay, so just let time pass a little bit as you sit there attached to the rock, and you're kind of ready to grab onto something, and just see what happens, see if anything changes.
There's a brilliant light There's a brilliant light. It comes from the right, and then things just suddenly change. I'm not there anymore. Yeah, I guess it feels like things shifted suddenly.
Okay, just for a moment, do you know if you had any family?
I don't sense family. I sense me.
So before it was pretty much like a solitary sort of existence.
Solitary and content.
Yeah. Okay, so you saw that light, things changed. Just see if you can go through that process, shifting from where you were to where you are, and just explain what you can remember.
So this light came and everything shifted, but I see movement in the water, sort of an explosion. It would seem that something may have impacted, and it changed everything. It seems to have changed everything. The light went white orange, and it changed everything. I'm guessing that was the end of that environment. And sorry, I have a cat just trying to settle down here. So, settle down, be sweet. What I see from that was that I was very content. Sorry, I was very content. I don't have any responsibilities. I was very content. And I just, had that until it ended. And that was the orange white light. It seemed like if that was a world, then there was something struck it, I guess.
So it wasn't just about your end. You felt that the world kind of ended?
Yes.
So it was something major, yeah.
Yes. Something ended there.
Do you get a visual of what the area looks like now?
Yeah, it's almost like I'm in space. It's like I'm just watching stars hovering.
What does the planet look like?
I don't think there is one. I'm thinking it's just me hovering around. Like whatever that event was, it was a significant one. So I see these interesting buildings. They are it's a flat wall. It's a flat manufactured wall, lighter colored to peaks, so creams to peaks. These buildings could be sort of a form of skyscraper, but not that big. So they're vertical. It's a metropolitan city type place. There are a lot of angles in these buildings. These buildings are like they don't like curves, this place. There's no curves here. Everything is angular. That's strange.
What would you say it closely resembles? Does it resemble anything you've seen?
It's sort of like a mix of Dr. Seuss meets Metropolis. There's a bit of an Art Deco feel to the buildings, but anyway, they're angular. I don't see lots of people. There's lots of transport devices that seem to be moving through the air, but I don't see lots of people per se.
Just focus in on one of those transports. What does it look like?
Okay, these have curves in them. That's strange. They are stretched egg shapes, but not completely egg-shaped, but they are stretched. And they're clear on the top, but they're metal on the bottom along their entire length, front to back. And people are riding in them. There's like 2 or 3 people in them. They're not big. I don't see any propulsion mechanisms, but they just seem to be purposeful in going from place to place. There's not lots of them. There are many, but there are not lots of them in this metropolitan area.
What are you doing just now?
I seem to be observing. I'm not even sure I'm visible. I just seem to be observing because I seem to be able to kind of float in between things and observe. I'm completely confused by this.
We'll just go with it. When you do try and get a sense of yourself, do you notice anything about you?
I seem to be an energy, an orb.
Do you get a color?
I'm whitish, but not very visible. So like faint white.
Would you say it's kind of like a bubble that's formed from, like children used to blow those devices to make bubbles, or is it a bit different?
Yeah. Okay, that would work. But think of that as glowing slightly.
Yeah.
And white. But just below the point where it draws a lot of attraction. Yeah. Where it becomes, it's almost like, invisible, but not completely invisible.
And can you explain the size of yourself compared to other things?
I'm like 3 or 4 inches, 2 or 3 inches. I'm not big.
And when you tap into yourself, as in your consciousness and your energy, how would you describe it? Is there a lot of it?
I do have lots of energy. My sense is that I'm responsible for moving around and being a positive radiant force. Just, I'm a happy bubble moving around. I'm a happy bubble. That's a lovely thing. I am simply supposed to move around and bring positivity to the area.
Do you know if there's any others doing the same thing there?
I'm not alone, but I don't see the others. So I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone.
Do you know how many others?
I don't know how many others, but it is. I don't know how many others. It is not a small quantity, but it's not a large number either. I don't know.
And as you exist as this sphere, are your senses kind of the same as normal, or how would you describe the differences? Do you sense differently?
I sense emotions. I sense the energy from emotions. So I can tell, are these people? I can tell if these people are happy or sad or angry or content and so whatever they are, my role is to simply provide whatever is necessary to make that a more positive experience for that area, I guess, to balance the energies. I just simply balance energies.
To see if you can focus on the beings or life forms there and see what they look like.
Yeah, they're humans or human-esque. Yeah, they're human, but they're different, but they're human.
Do you know how long you've been there doing that?
I've been here a very long time. I've been here a very long time because I wanted to be here doing this. So I have been here a very long time. I hear 12,000 years.
Do you know what planet that is? Is it a planet?
I'm told it's Earth. Where is this?
Is it the past or the future?
It's the past. It's 200,000 years ago.
Do you know how long you will stay there?
There are changes coming. I cannot keep up with some of the changes that are coming. These humans are doing things. They're playing with energies. They're experimenting with energies. I can't change that. So we will do this until it's not needed anymore.
How are they using or playing with the energies?
There's a grid. There's crystals. There's a grid of some sort. They are altering. There's some folks altering the functionality of the grid. They're experimenting. And they will not succeed. This is not going to end well. So my job is to keep balancing the emotional energy, but I know we won't be doing this much longer.
Did you say that was a crystal grid?
The energy is a grid, but the crystals maintain it and help work with it.
What will be the outcome of the use of that?
This grid powers their flying things. This grid provides them light. This grid provides them many things. They are trying to see if they can control and manipulate it because it's older than they are. They don't understand it.
So they didn't create it?
They didn't create it. They just use it. They pass down the instructions. There are some people who are trying to subvert it for their own purposes. It will not last.
So I'm just trying to figure out the reason why there will be a time soon when you're not needed. So at that point, what will the state of life be for them in that moment? You're not needed anymore.
they will collapse the grids. And that will cause upheavals in this world, this earth. And much harm comes from it. Some escape, some see what's happening and escape. Not everyone does. My role changes then because these people change. There's something that becomes, they lose the grids. They completely lose the grids. That changes their lives. They have to go back to start from scratch.
So I want you to just move ahead to another point in the future when that happens, when that grid collapses and when your role changes. So just move ahead to then, so you're in that moment. It might be easier to see what's going on when you're in the moment and just see where you are.
There's great destruction. I have no ability to control what's happening.
How does that make you feel, not having?
Nor can I balance the emotions. I completely cannot balance the emotions. And I leave. I'm overwhelmed and I leave.
Do you have a connection to the others that are there doing a similar thing?
I don't feel them then.
Is your experience more of an independent experience doing that role?
Perhaps we had more dependency on the grid than we realized, but I am by myself then, or I seem to be by myself.
Yeah. And the sort of destruction, just describe something around what's going on there, what's causing the destruction.
There's a great change in the land. There's great change in the land. There's a lot of sinking. There's a lot of rising. There's a lot of water moving around. There's a weather change too. There's dark skies, very dark skies, almost black, as things get hurled into the air. There's a sense of foreboding, like a presence, but all that just changes. It just goes away. But I leave. I can't. I leave.
So before you left, you were part of balancing the energies. How did you know that what you were doing was effective? How do you explain that?
We could feel the vibrations of the energies. We could feel the energies. And if we felt like there was something that was, how do I say this? There was a sense that we knew of what was normal and what was good. And if we noticed that there was something that was traveling outside that or was different, we would try to provide a balance to that. So when it was a sensing, there's no other way to explain it. It was a sensing of those energies. So if we were sensing there was too much anger or too much hilarity or too much sadness, we would try to provide some level of change to balance that. These humans choose what they want, but we tried to provide them some sort of balance to keep things in better control.
So the humans had free will, but you were still able to influence them in a positive way through balancing.
Yes. Yes. We tried to provide balance, but we were not controllers.
Do you know the reason why you were all doing that? Did you have a directive or something, someone instruct you to come down and do that?
This is an expression of love. This is a desire to provide balance to free will. This is an attempt to provide free will without allowing it to go completely out of the boundaries that make sense. This is an expression of love.
Okay. Okay, so you just left because of what happened there. And earlier you said you move into another role. Just see if you can sense into that. What is that new role?
I haven't given up on the balance. I bring that to my current life. But the important factor in today's world is that more people are seeking balance. And the difference is that in the other world, the people were not seeking balance. So today's world, it becomes easier to provide balance.
Can you see how you go about providing balance in your current life? How does that work?
I read energies, I see how people are feeling, and I attempt to simply direct a balance of energy for them in that area. There's no change to free will. And we all learn to do this almost innately. But my role is almost uniquely that today. He is starting to suspect this. He is making attempts to actively direct energy when he thinks it's needed.
And the part of him, or the consciousness, or the spirit, which is in his current life doing this balancing, is that part of his own spirit, his own soul, or is it separate? Is it something else?
It is part of him.
So it's basically, for example, he was in this other time period about 200,000 years ago, and that was like a past life then, and that was fully his spirit there, and now he's had other experiences and lives, and he's in this life now, and it's just part of who he is. Is that how you describe it?
Yes, the difference is more people are seeking the balance. Whereas the difference from the past is more people were unaware of the balance.
Is it easier for him to do that now then because people are seeking it?
It is the same work. There's still a need. People need balance. They don't necessarily understand from where it comes. So the need is the same. He has done this before.
Would you say this happens with every other experience or lifetime he has, or is it only certain or specific ones?
This only happens when he is ready to do it again. This role is sometimes very wearying, and he will not always remember to recharge himself. There is a cost for this.
In what way does it fatigue him?
He forgets to provide balance for himself. So he will eventually reach a point where he recognizes that he is now out of balance, and he will eventually reach a point where he attempts to reset. That is something where he needs to do better, but he will always balance energies.
And does he understand what that means to reset?
No.
How would you describe it then?
For him, he needs to go sit in nature, sit and think and ponder and meditate. For him, he needs to realize that he can only rebuild his reserves by pausing the balancing for everyone else. And then he can come back to it. It has been a long time since he's taken a pause.
And doing those things, and would that help him find his balance?
Yes.
Is there anything else he can do to balance himself?
This would be a start. The other places will become obvious.
Hmm. And is this role, this balancing role, is this something he can decide to turn off while in the one experience or the one life, or is it with him for the entirety of it?
This is his contract.
Okay. So it's like a space that supports the connection to those important lessons.
It supports the ability to reconnect with those lessons. It supports the ability to build new lessons. And it supports the ability to reconnect to the larger energy, the larger source, the larger everything.
So today we had some lessons come up. What I want you to do is just see if you can get another one just now, another important lesson or experience that you've had in the past that's important to come through just now. Just see what comes to you.
The most important lesson is to love. There is no other lesson than to love. Love is a gift. Love is from source. Source is in everyone, and everyone is from source. Therefore, everyone should be loved. Therefore, actions which don't express love are ones that should be changed. Whether it's driving and being angry with a circumstance, whether it's being sad at someone's circumstance of making poor choices, whether it's sad at failing to make an optimal choice. These should all be converted to love. Everything is about love.
Are we allowed to look into his future in this life and see if there's another lesson that's important to bring up now that he's going to learn?
Yes.
Well, just give us one that's important to know about just now.
Change brings the opportunity to love more. Loss is a form of change. Love can survive change, and there will be changes.
So that may mean there might be some loss, which we can usually expect when we get older, but there'll still be love, won't there? It'll always be there.
So loss is any change of expectation. It can be personal, it can be emotional, it can be physical. But the right reaction is to understand that love survives everything. This is a lesson to be learned.
And does that also relate or fit into standing or holding a high vibration, a positive attitude?
Love is an acceptance that every person, every soul has its own path. And we travel individually, but together. Love accepts that path can be different for each person, even if it's connected or if there's just touch points. So the greatest point can be that as all things change, it really is about love.
So right now, what part of am I communicating with? Is it his subconscious I'm speaking to, or higher self? How would you describe it?
We are all here.
The first scene that came up today with him was where he had tentacles and was underwater. There was a lot of purple color, and he had an interesting experience there. What was the reason for him to be shown that today?
Thinks life has to be activity combined with activity combined with activity. Life is simply understanding that activity is not required, and the more important thing is to look inward and to understand the relationship to source.
What advice do you give him to try and do that more frequently or more often?
The path he's on is a good one, but he continues to use abstractions to keep from that path. These distractions should be set aside. More time meditating. meditating in multiple places, not just one. More time meditating.
He found himself as a pure form of consciousness, helping the city with balancing emotions. I can see why that was important and how it relates to his current life. But perhaps you can expand on what we were shown today and what we are taking guesses at, and explain why that's important for him to know just now.
There are times when he feels frustrated that circumstances are not going the way he wants. And it is a sense that things are going badly, or a sense that things are out of balance. What we attempted to show him in that lifetime was that sometimes the goals that you have are not possible uniquely without acknowledging free will on everyone's hands. So his goal in this lifetime is to understand that and still provide balance.
I just want to check in on some more detail about that lifetime. What is the name? Did that civilization, those people have a name that they're known by, that we can recognize them as?
Lemuria.
How long did their civilization last in total? How many years would that be?
There was at least 12,000 for that individual. The civilization itself had lasted more than 200,000.
Who were the ones that originally created that energetic crystal grid?
I don't see that.
How long ago was it created before Lemurians found it?
I don't see that.
Was it actual Lemurians that created it, and just because a long period of time has passed, they lost the knowledge?
Lemurians did not create it. It existed before then.
Is it similar to any technology existing in the world today?
No.
Were some of the ways the Lemurians were using the technology for, which led to earth changes and destruction, similar to anything going on in the world today?
Yes.
In what way?
There are experiments today to try to change the balance of energies in nature, to understand the forces that nature has. Those experiments will fail, the equipment will fail, and the destruction will be blocked.
So this time around, there won't be any destruction.
Yes. No destruction.
Is that a certainty, or is that one of the timelines?
It's a certainty.
What sort of equipment or technology are they using to do this?
This is CERN in Switzerland. There's a smaller one located elsewhere that people don't know about. Both will fail. They will fail from external influences not known to the scientist.
When you say external, would you say multi-dimensional?
Yes.
So this is why they wouldn't understand why it's failed, because it's not something they can perceive or test or have sensors for?
Yes.
The public experiments that they share with the media, is that what's going to cause, or what could cause, the possible, failures or destruction, or is it other experiments they do?
So they have already been shut down. It's just not public.
So I know they've got one planned coming up in July, early July. So that one's not going to work?
No.
Is there anything that he could bring forth from that lifetime that will help him do it more effectively in his current one? Or has he got all the ability he needs?
He does have all the ability he needs. He does need to remember that balance for others requires balance for himself. He does have all he needs.
Okay, that's good. Can you share with us if there are any coming Earth changes?
It won't matter. There are, but it will not matter.
What do you mean it won't matter?
From his perspective, it won't change his role, his life. He will basically have the same job. He will basically be responsible for helping to make people better around him. He may find that there are changes, but in the end, it won't change his basic reason for being here.
Is there anything he needs to know to help him get through it or to prepare, or is everything being taken care of?
He has been making preparation. He should continue, and he will be okay. He and his loved ones will be okay.
With regards to the Earth changes, is there any information you can give us about them in relation to, what's going on in the world or in general? What should we be expecting in the next few years?
There is a change in the planetary systems. That change will produce stresses in the Earth that have been seen previously. Those stresses will change the surface of the continents. Not everyone will be able to survive those changes. Those changes will be dramatic and will occur over a period of time. There are early visions of them happening now. If you pay attention to the earthquakes that are occurring, you will see there are clusters starting to form when there have never been earthquakes recorded before. These changes will not take years and years to produce.
So there'll be a short period of time where there'll be a series of large changes?
There will be a short period of time where there will be large changes. There will be a long period of time where there are minor changes, both leading up and retreating from the primary events.
Are you able to accurately pinpoint the timing of when the large changes start to happen?
No, it's already in progress.
So right now, what would the most probable time period be? For example, would it be next year or the year after or the end of the year sort of thing?
It is within a few years. It's less than a handful of years.
What sort of things affect the timing? What would make it take longer or shorter? What sort of events in the world influence it?
These are planetary events. There are not really events in this world that influence it. These are extra planetary events.
Are there any final messages for us today before we finish?
Meditate, meditate, meditate.